Hi, everybody. This is Baseball Hood, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion, your host, the Hut, and welcome back to the Baseball Hood. Hope you like this video and subscribe. This channel is trying to get to 5,000 subs before the end of the year, so I need you to hit that subscribe button. And also, if you want to know what's going on with the Mets in terms of Shohei Ohtani, we're going to talk about a lot about Ohtani going into the offseason. You want to hit that subscribe button on this video so you know what's happened today. I'm going to read you some stuff and let you know what happened today in an interview with an MLB Insider. It's from, I guess I'll go to Mesmerized. Here's from Mesmerized. On Tuesday, Ken Rosenthal of The Athletic speculated on his podcast, Fair Territory, that the bidding for Shohei Ohtani would ultimately come down to the Mets and Los Angeles Dodgers, noting that he could not see Steve Cohen simply passing on bidding on him this offseason. Rosenthal also included the Texas Rangers, San Francisco Giants, and Seattle Mariners as teams who may enter the mix for Ohtani. But he noted that he felt the bidding ultimately would come down to LA versus New York for the likely 2023 AL MVP. Now we know, if you don't know, the Mets have the richest owner in baseball. Now he said that he's lost money. Over the first 3 years of running this team, he's had to pay bills that the Wilpons had, and he has spent a lot of money, and this year was a disaster. But he did say that the team is going to be competitive. Now, Ohtani is probably the biggest free agent ever. He is the biggest free agent of all time. Nobody's even close to this. You're talking about one of the greatest players, one of the greatest athletes that ever put on a baseball uniform in North America. He still has to go a long way to be Babe Ruth, in my opinion, because he's only really done this 3 seasons on a level that we've never seen, and obviously he's had 2 now major injuries to his elbow. One that he had in 2018, and obviously this year, which shut his season down where they found that he had tear in his UCL. Nobody knows the kind of surgery he had. His agent did not discuss the kind of level of invasion into the elbow, but what's interesting is that he said he will be ready for the season when it comes to being an everyday player. So where is his value as a player? That is a question I can't answer. I have felt that with him being a two-way player, that he would bring in about $500 million. Say it again. I said $500 million. So this is a player that's going to bring in a ton of money as we sit here in the bird sanctuary. And he will bring in now, what that contract's going to be right now with him not being a pitcher for next season. The word is he's going to pitch in 2025. So I don't know what the value will be for him. Is he going to be a player that will sign a 1 or 2 year deal and then go back into the market? That's an interesting thought. Does a team give him a big contract, say $120 million for 2 years? Anything is up for grabs. Anything is possible. Now the word is, now as a fan, I'm just talking about it, just as a baseball fan and Mets fan, I'm talking about it. We know that he wants to, what the word was that he likes California. But he didn't have a lot of good luck there in California, other than playing great. The Angels were terrible. The Angels were terrible every year because they were a ball club that was not constructed properly. They have an owner who's a disaster in Artie Moreno. And you have a situation where he had one of the best players of all time that he played with, but they did not go anywhere. So is he a panacea? Is he a player that is going to be a guy that's going to put you over the top? Well, he didn't put the Angels over the top. That's for sure. Now, the Mets have an issue, and I've talked about this a lot over the last 2 years. This team needs another big hitter in this lineup. It needs, in my opinion, a 5-hitter. Now, he would be a better hitter than, obviously, a 5-hitter. But they could use another bat in the middle of the lineup. He would be, you can't say anything bad about him as a player. So you bat him third in the middle of this lineup in front of Pete Alonso, or in front of Francisco Lindor. Maybe you lengthen out. Maybe you put Pete fifth, and maybe you put Pete second. There's any number of things you can do here with this kind of a lineup. Now, in the same regard, the Mets have a big free agent going into next year, and that's Pete Alonso. Whereas Pete wants 10 years. That's the word. We don't know, because we're not in this, in the middle of these discussions the Mets have had with Pete, if they've had any. So there's a lot of this is like an influx kind of thing going on with the Mets, because we don't know how they look at stuff right now. In terms of their farm system, it has gotten incredibly better with all this young talent that they brought in. There is no bigger free agent, like I said, in the history of baseball than Ohtani. And we know that nothing will keep Steve Cohen from putting the best team on the field. And he will spend as much money as he can to do that. That's not an issue. The issue is, does Ohtani want to be here? Does he want to have to deal with, bad weather in April and May? And does he want to do that? Because he's had very good weather, obviously, in Anaheim and Los Angeles. So he hasn't had to deal with these rather harsh springs sometimes that we have here, in terms of being very cold and being very damp. And in fact, it's been very damp here in New York the last few days. We've been getting part of that hurricane, but the weather has been terrible here. But these are the kinds of questions that we will have answered in this offseason, where he's going to go. I think the Mariners are a good place for him, to be honest with you. I think the Giants are a good place for him. The Giants have the money. They're a big market. They've been trying to get a big player for a long time. They couldn't get Bryce Harper. They couldn't get Aaron Judge. They couldn't get Carlos Correa, though they did the right thing by letting him go, just like the Mets did the right thing by letting him walk. And obviously, they have this beautiful ballpark. They have they've had great teams there over the last 10 years. So that's a good place for him. The Mariners are a great place for him, because obviously the history of Japanese players in Seattle is great, with Ichiro, and obviously the closer Sasaki that was there years ago. So they've had some very good players that have come over from Japan and play for the Mariners. So that is a great place for him to be too. So it's all up to him. If money's no object, the Mets will get it. They'll outbid the Dodgers. I mean, the Dodgers have a lot of money. Obviously, the Dodgers are a great place too. And they've not spent a lot of money. They spent very smart money. This last off season, they let some free agents go. They cleared a lot of money out of there. And people are saying that is their way of saying that they're going to sign a big free agent coming into this off season, which everyone has said Ohtani. I would expect that the Dodgers, in my view, the Dodgers will be the number one spot, and the Mets will be number two, with the Mariners and Giants being there. And of course, Rosenthal mentioned the Texas Rangers. Texas Rangers have been spending money like crazy. There's no tax in Texas, no state tax in Texas. So that's a huge advantage for the Rangers, is that they have no tax in their state. These other places, obviously New York, California, Washington, they have high tax rates. So that's something that he'll have to contend with. I have not heard the Cubs. Keep an eye on the Cubs, although they have they might be a little stocked in the outfield. I don't know. They probably would rather sign Bellinger than do a big contract. Who knows? I don't know the whole situation with the Cubs, but that's sort of something to keep an eye on. So I'm going to keep talking about Ohtani. If I get any kind of stories about him, you want to subscribe to the channel. I'll get as much information out there for you. And obviously, we love the Mets here. We want to see the Mets win a World Series. And we're going to get there very soon with this owner and this new president of baseball operations coming in, David Stearns. He'll be coming in next week. We'll find out the future of Buck Showalter. We'll find out the future of the pitching coach and the rest of this team moving forward. And obviously, hope we'll find out what's going on with Pete Alonso. So keep hitting the subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new to the channel, I welcome you. And hopefully we'll have a long time talking to each other and have a lot of fun here on the Baseball Hut. So thank you, and I'll see you later.